Before we dive into today's episode, I have something exciting to share with you. If you're a teacher, principal, or supportive parent looking to bring vibrant educational gardens to your school, I'm hosting a free webinar just for you. In this webinar, you'll learn step by step how to grow a thriving student-led school garden that's connected to your curriculum all during class time with no extra work outside of school hours for you teachers or parents. The webinar is available 3 times a day until February 20th, so it's easy to find a time that works for you. Head over to kidsgrowingcity.ca to register now and start growing with ease. All right, let's get into today's episode. Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of the School Gardens with Ease podcast. I am very excited to start this season with an interview with Shant Sourian, who's been teaching with my Oasis programs for 3 years. Yes, you heard that right. And you're probably like, finally. Because it's one thing when I talk about my programs with the high level of investment and bias, obviously, and it's an entirely other thing when you hear about them from an actual teacher who's utilized them for 3 years and counting, right? Shant is a grade 8 French immersion teacher at Beverly Heights Middle School, but teaching is actually his second career. He's spent many years in corporate world working as a customer service specialist for Rogers Communications and Honda Canada Finance. He's been teaching now for just over 5 years and has truly found his vocation working with the underserved community of North York, Ontario. Besides being an educator, he's also very passionate about cooking and using sustainable ingredients in his side business as a private chef and caterer for his company, Private Bites. Now, mind you, 3 of those 5 years that he's been teaching, he's taught with the Oasis programs. And he's shared so generously in this interview, and all that he shared was so invaluable that I had to keep it all in the edits. That's why I split it into 2 episodes, actually. And here's the first part. Let's get into it with no further ado. Hello, Shant. I'm so excited to have you on the School Gardens with Ease podcast. So I did a little bit of an intro before we got started, but I want you to tell the audience yourself in your own words, your background and how did we, get to know each other and all of the good stuff.
Of course. So I think it's important to start by saying that I'm a teacher. I teach grade 8. I was very new to teaching. This is my second profession. So as of right now, I'm only about 5.5 years into the career. So that being said, when this opportunity came to me, I was still trying to get my feet under me, so to speak, in terms of, getting my programs ready, all the fun stuff that comes along with teaching, and especially as a new teacher. So I just want to start off by saying I was very new, and part of that is the reason why I wanted to jump into this program feet first, but I was also a little bit hesitant to get into it as well because of all the other things that I had going on.
Right. So when you say this program, because the audience might not know which program we're talking about, you're talking about the Oasis Classroom program, right?
For sure.
Yes.
That's right. So I think it was about 3 years ago that I received an opportunity through my administrators saying that there is such and such a program where you get to garden with your students as part of the regular school. And it was facilitated by you, of course. Again, I was very new. I was hesitant, but gardening, I think, has always been part of me. When I was a kid, I would help out, with my dad and my mom with the family garden, and being the only child, it's up to you to basically do everything. They're kind of telling you what to do, and you're doing it. So, and my dad always did have a green thumb. So I figured, I like it. I've tried growing, fruits and vegetables myself before. And what better way as a new teacher to try to incorporate some STEM curriculum, because I knew that STEM was going to be part of the new science curriculum. And I was trying to find a creative way to really enjoy teaching STEM, because I was a little bit afraid of it. But doing the connections between sub irrigation and forecasting and trying to find spaces and searching for the sun and all of those things that go along with gardening, I figured would be an amazing way to incorporate STEM into my regular grade 8 curriculum. So I jumped on it. And honestly, it's just been a roller coaster ride. The first year was I was learning along with my students, but it was a lot of fun. And near the end of the first year, when we were noticing that our room was getting so filled with this abundance of lush green plants, we're like, okay, what are we going to do with all of this? And that's when the idea of fundraising and trying to subsidize the grade 8 graduation trip, and then eventually donating whatever else we had left over at the end of the year to the community gardens that are near our school. Everything just kind of felt right. And it felt as though there was real purpose to this program at the end of the day. It was something very tangible, not only for us, but for our students' families who ended up coming around and buying plants for their own gardens. And then at the end, donating whatever plants we had left to the community, essentially. So it was very fulfilling, which made me realize, this was the right decision. And that's why I just kept coming back year after year. I think that just one of the things that kind of not stopped me, but gave me pause to think, which, I mean, if you're in the same shoes as I am, being a new teacher, I was like, am I going to be able to handle all of this on top of everything else that I need to do? But I realized very quickly that it didn't take that much time out of, the week, for example. It was like a double period. And it ended up getting my students even more engaged in just everything else. And it was really a beneficial tool to supplement other learning as well. So I figured out ways, again, I was new, but I think that part of it helped me incorporate this into my overall strategy as a new teacher, so that I ended up building my entire year around this, more or less, incorporating it as many ways, spiraling back to it, whether it was in art or, designing flyers for our sales, or in math and data management when we were, tracking the progress, the growth rates of different plants, and even, talking about business, talking about return over investment, and how much we've, invested in terms of our time, our materials, and what kind of profit we got back at the end of the year. So there was so many teachable moments just related to this program that it made me realize, no, you know what, this is a feasible way of incorporating this for anybody that has any type of passion towards gardening, and getting their kids really hands-on learning with things that they can, translate to outside of school, right? They can go and then they can teach their family how to do it.
Yeah.
So it was very fulfilling in many ways, especially as a new teacher, because it helped me realize that, yeah, this is a very viable way of continuing my programming year after year after
That's
year.
awesome. You know what?
Yeah.
I did not know. Like, it's been 3 years that we've been working together. I did not know that you were fairly new.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
When we
amazing.
met, I was only in it for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, this is my second career. So that I mean, but yeah, I had some hesitation, but I'm like, what's the worst that could happen,
Right.
right? Let's try it. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a good college effort. And you know what? It was just so much fun. It was a lot of fun, and my kids were having fun, and I was having fun. And then, putting on like the fundraisers, and seeing how much money that we got in the first year alone. Like, we made over
Yeah,
$1,500 in like 2 fundraisers. It was ridiculous how much money we made on the first year. So we're like, yeah, no, this is something that we're going to keep doing.
that's awesome.
And now all the students in the school, they know that I run this program, and everybody wants to be in my class. So I'm trying to kind of spread the word to other teachers, because unfortunately I can't do it for everybody, but maybe we can spread it around a little bit here.
Yeah, that's right. So I just want to mention something that, like, when I am, promoting my programs, I do not at all promise the results that you've got, right? And the reason for that is, you are kind of special. Yeah, so you have so much energy, man, and you are so committed and you're so passionate about this project. And yeah, the way you incorporate it into your day-to-day teachings is just amazing. I've never seen any other teacher do that. And every other teacher does get very, very good results. But the results that you have gotten, for example, because the fundraiser, for example, is not part of the program. That's what you did on top
No,
of the
no.
program, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
yeah, yeah. So and everything else, like donating. Yeah, I do have suggestions in the program saying you could fundraise, you could, donate, you could give it away as prizes, you could send it home, the kids can plant them in the garden. Those are suggestions that I give, but I like my lesson plans have nothing to do with those. Like, right?
No, no,
So
no.
it's amazing how you've actually brought other things into it and connected it to so many different things.
Thank
Yeah.
you. But just to spiral off of that, I think it's because we just had so much abundance of everything that it like our for the listeners out there, we had an entire. I was fortunate enough to have an empty classroom. Now it was wall to wall windows, mind you. It was east facing, but it was still plenty of morning sun. But that entire room was dedicated to the eco center or the garden. So we took advantage of that. Like your program might have said, here's some seeds and you're going to do 24 cups, and we would do like 36
Right.
cups. And I would go out and find and source different kind of hot pepper seeds and different like exotic seeds that we could find. So we just took the teachings of the program and just made it our own. Why not? Like, why limit ourselves when we have the knowledge? We can just plant anything at this point.
Exactly.
So and that's, I think that's where the kids also come in, because they have a say. It's like what we want to plant, and they get to watch it. So essentially we had more plants than we knew what to do with. So just sending one or two home per child wasn't going to cut it.
Right.
Like I had an entire room. It looked like a greenhouse in there. It was insane how many things that we had.
Right.
And the beans the first year, like I didn't know what to do with them. They just went crazy. Like, so it was like Jumanji in there. So we had to figure something out. And I think that's the necessity of being able to make sure all of our hard work just didn't go to waste in some rubbish bin somewhere. Like we had to find um a suitable way of getting rid of everything before school closes down, because we couldn't keep it.
Right. Right. So
um
so this is
but now we can.
Yeah, there are two very important things that you said throughout what up until now that I would want to go back to and emphasize those. The first thing, I mean, the second thing you just said is the abundance, right? So one of the main reasons that I even got started doing this, the idea of having this organization that teaches kids how to grow food came from permaculture. And permaculture is all about abundance, right? And how we work with nature. And if we do that, then nature provides us with abundance. And I have always wanted the next generation to know how easy this abundance can be achieved, right? Because we always think about growing food, and we think it's hard, and also we don't sometimes work very well with nature. But if you do that and abundance comes, that's very empowering, right? So I thank you so much for saying that, because even the teachers who just go with the seeds that I tell them to plant in the program and don't even go out, and even those who just plant every with one seed per student, those teachers
Right.
also get abundance, right? Relatively, right? Obviously,
Absolutely.
yours went crazy because you went out and
Yeah.
beyond. But that's
Yeah.
that's a very important thing. And the second thing that you said before this, which I think a lot of teachers need to hear, is that you thought at the beginning that this was going to be something on top of your schedule, and you had worries about how am I going to do this on top of everything else, but it actually was merged into your schedule and connected to your curriculum, and the engagement went up, right? And when engagement goes up, then the learning in all the other subjects becomes more efficient and more enjoyable,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually gave me ideas of how to teach other subjects, because sometimes you're stumped. Like, how am I going to teach data management in a way that's actually fun for the kids? What better than growing a plant and measuring its growth rate, and and doing experiments in science in terms of light conditions and water conditions, and it was just it was a tool that was so versatile across all strands, that it actually I kept, whenever I was stumped for an idea, I would turn to the program and I'd be like, okay, well, how can I fit this into that? And oftentimes it was very simple. It was very straightforward. And I think that's what increased the efficacy of everything else that I kind of taught throughout the year, simply because everything was more relatable. It was relevant. It was hands-on. Like, the amount of ways that we engaged with it. We got the foundations for science and foundations for math in the beginning of the year, and then the second we started with the Oasis, I mean, the very first project, making your own biodegradable pot to plant the sprouts, that was an entire art project for us, right? And like we were talking about, precision in folding, and I teach French, so we were doing it in French, and getting the vocabulary built back up. So it was like a tool just like any other in the classroom, but it's so versatile. It was like a multi-tool in the classroom, so it really helped me organize my lessons in a very logical kind of way, where everything was kind of like interrelated. You know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say? It wasn't just a little bit from there, a little bit from there, a little bit from there. It was all surrounding this one central thing that the kids had a hand in as well,
Right.
which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Okay, so we heard about how it went the first year, and I do remember that you
Yeah.
that you wanted to go outside and yeah, upgrade this to an outdoor garden the second year, but that didn't happen. What happened there? Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, Layla. Like you said, I'm a very energetic person. Sometimes I just, jump in head first without thinking, and hope the net appears. And oftentimes it does. What happened after that first year was that we still got around to the Oasis Classroom project. We still got it done. But taking it to that extra step, I think it would have been too much for me. So I said, you know what, there's always next year. But then next year came, and I still had hesitation about taking it that step further. What stopped that hesitation? What stopped it? You know what made me say, okay, yeah, now is the right time to do it? It was when you presented to me the Kaha planter system.
Right. The caja planters
And
are amazing, aren't they?
and the fact that, I mean, they were pretty much, they took care of themselves. They needed very little attention during the summer. That was that was a plus, a very big plus for me to be like, okay. But then when you said that the program for Kaha comes with everything you need to get it started, it gets all delivered. You're there to like survey the area, make sure we're placing them in the right spot, I knew I was going to have your 100% support with it. So it wasn't like they were just going to dump everything on the curb and be like, good luck. Right?
No
So I
way.
knew that you're going to be there. Like there was so much support throughout I mean, this entire program, there's never been a moment where I didn't know what to do, because anytime I had a question, I just asked you, and you gave me some brilliant ideas, multiple different ideas every time. So I knew I was going to have that level of customer support, as they call it. So that also was a plus. And so I'm like, you know what? I think it's time. So it was still scary, don't get me wrong, just because it was something new all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I just getting comfortable with the old, and I was getting into the groove, and now it's something new on top of everything else again. And now you have to readjust, and you have to pivot, and you have to grow. But I think I thrive off of
Oh
that,
yeah,
even when
you
it's
do, you
uncomfortable.
do. And
Yeah, yeah.
just for everybody to know, the third year you did not start with the Kaha Oasis program. You still started
No,
with the Oasis Classroom program, and then it was at the end of
yeah,
the school year, almost at the end of the school year, that you decided that
yeah,
you want to transplant some
yeah,
of this abundance that you had
yeah,
into the Kaha planters. So essentially, you jumped into it in a way that no other teacher would. Like all the other teachers would go with the entire program from the beginning of spring, the Kaha planters,
yeah.
and all of that. So I really admire you and for being brave enough to jump from another program right into this Kaha planter program. And I am sure that next year, when you start from the beginning with the Kaha Oasis program, it's going to be just amazing because it already was. How did it go this year?
Insane. It was like it was insane. There was a lot of growth, a lot of produce, very little maintenance. I think I overdid it, as I do. I planted too many things and didn't really leave enough space for the plants to breathe and be
Right. I
comfortable.
told you.
But again, lesson learned. You did. I was stubborn. Again, I had abundance. I had all of these plants. I needed to find places to plant them. But it went amazingly. And I kept thinking like, where are all my peppers? Where are all the tomatoes? Like are the animals getting them? But no, it turns out, I spoke to a couple of parents, and they're like, thanks for the peppers, the hot peppers. Like our family really enjoys them. And like somebody else is like, thanks for the cilantro. Like, I'm like, that's you guys taking it. Like I think I maybe harvested one tomato. The second day I guess started because we're not there in the summertime, right? I went and checked a few times, but no, apparently they yeah, the community really made really good use out of it, which is that's the idea. That's why we did it, right? It was very fulfilling. Mind you, yeah, I still was able to harvest a few hot peppers of myself, and lots of Swiss chard and lots of parsley and lots and lots and
Lots and
lots of
lots of.
stuff. Lots of seeds right now. Yeah.
Mm,
So we did the harvesting, and we we put the bags over the coriander seeds and snip them off. And so we got marigold seeds, we have nasturtium seeds, we got a lot. I've got some heirloom pepper seeds that I'm looking to plant in the spring
nice.
for some chocolate Scotch
Ah,
bonnets.
those are
They're
really
going to be a
fun.
they're going to be a big hit in our community for sure.
I want to bring everybody, the listeners, back to the idea of community, because when we say community, first of all, a lot of people think of school gardens as community gardens, which actually throws them off. They think that in order to make this useful for the community, they have to engage the community from the beginning, right? And they have to organize volunteers to come and build the garden and plant the garden and all of that, because they imagine this was going to be a lot of work, and therefore they think that they need the adults, the parents, and all that to come in
Right.
and do that. And they think if they don't
No.
do that,
Yeah.
then the community will not be connected to the garden. So, but did you at all get help over these 3 years from any parents, any other teachers? Did you have to organize any
No.
clubs or committees or anything like that to achieve this success?
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. No, 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 no. If anything, the community looks forward to our yearly sales now. Like they know our school is a place where, by Victoria Day long weekend, they're gonna go and they're gonna buy whatever, tomatoes and peppers and herbs that they need for their gardens. Like it's become that spot now. And the only things we did in terms of reaching out to the community, and again, this was a very fun activity for my class, was we made flyers and we went door to door and we handed out flyers and we engaged with the community.
Yeah.
But in terms of,
But that was after the fact, right? After the garden was.
yeah, no, like that was all us. Like that was just us saying, "Hey, we're here. Come and buy our things," right? But we never had to, reach out for parent volunteers to build anything or to help us. Nothing like that. It was all student driven. It was all the kids did everything. Like it is a community program, and the kids are the community. They're the ones doing it. We're just there to show them how it's done and kind of monitor and answer questions and tweak it here and there. But once the kids get the hang of it, I mean, it's so easy. It does itself. Like it really does. There's barely anything to it. You just have to have, and again, this is part of our weekly thing, is we assign roles for the classroom. So we have people who are runners who go get the snack bin and come back, and then we have people who, the president, for example, they set due dates for projects, and the deputy make sure everybody's places are clean at the end of the day. But we also now have garden tenders who are going to be responsible for watering the bins, making sure everything stays topped up, especially before the weekend or a long weekend. And it's part of their responsibility. It's part of our everyday school day. Like it's there. It's right next door to us, and the kids often want to go in and just to see how everything is doing. And again, if you have the space, and I really implore you to try to find the space if you're going to do this, because you're going to want to grow so many things. It gets addictive. It's a little bit scary. Like, I had to stop myself near the end of the year. I'm like, okay, no more. I need to stop. Like, where am I going to put everything? But you find places. Like you find places, and as it gets warmer, you start hardening them outside, and you just leave them outside, and you have more space inside to do other things. But no, in terms of the extra workload as a teacher, having to recruit parents or volunteers, no, nothing like that. In fact, the only volunteer thing that happened was over the summer. the kaha planters as they needed to be watered. I actually, because I teach grade 8, my students are going into high school next year, and they need community service hours. So I offered them hours, whoever was willing to come by, and I had 3 dedicated students who every week came around, make sure everything is topped up. They filled out a little clipboard saying that they came on this day, and then in September they all came around with their community hour work, the sheet that I had to fill out, and I gave them all hours. So it continues even after the school year for those who want to get a head start on those hours for high school. It's a great way. I literally had to do nothing over the summer. I came around 2 or 3 times just to harvest and see how things are going and send you pictures.
Yes.
Other than that, it was like you just let it go and it does itself.
Awesome.
It was very easy.
Awesome. That's great. All right. I think this is a good place to end part 1 of this interview. I know that you loved it so far and are looking forward to the second part. Shant shared so much more that will answer so many more of your questions. In season 1 of this podcast, we used to release an episode per week, but I promise that I will not make you wait that long for this second part of this interview. I am planning to release the rest of this interview in a few days. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you soon. You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.